Anything exciting at Harrison these days?
There's playoffs this Friday.
Playoffs. Football. Yeah. We don't care about the fights. We just care about football. Football. So what are we, 10-0?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Anything else? No. Nothing else. I'm kind of interested. There's a lot more new faces. So who all goes to Harrison? I did this like at the very beginning of youth. Oh. Okay. So we're representing Harrison in here tonight. Let me see Bergman. Bergman, representing Bergman. Valley. Representing Valley. So are those the only three schools we represent in here? Is that it? No Alpena? Omaha? Nobody? Okay. So, homeschool. Who's homeschool? All right, represent. There you go. All right, so you guys, you need to be really proud. This is a good crowd representing three schools. So what I'm trying to say is whatever you guys learn in here, you're going to take back to three schools. So that's pretty cool, right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's roll with the first announcement, Jamin.
Thanksgiving fellowship dinner.
Uh-huh. What day is that?
Wednesday, November 20th.
All right. So, next Wednesday, we are going to need your help. Youth will be serving next Wednesday for a Thanksgiving meal. So, we're going to need you guys there a little early. We want to serve. We want to pour drinks. We want to clean up, show a smile, show the adults what we do. Right? Yes. Yes, Schumann. All right, next.
Hey, I just wanted to ask real quick, are we going to do anything up here after that, or is that it for next? Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe we're going to do the full cleanup. I think we're going to be the ones to maybe take the plates away, to help get, extra drinks for people, replace silverware on the tables and that kind of thing. All right, so next, what we got?
There's no service Wednesday, November 27th. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. So no service next Wednesday. It's kind of self-explanatory. All right. What's next?
That's not next Wednesday. That's the next one.
2 more Wednesdays.
Okay.
That's right. Sorry. I'm already ready for turkey. I'm sorry.
I just didn't want anybody to be confused. I want them to show up next week.
Right. Well, yes. Look at those dates. All right. What's next? Yeah. Go for it, Jamie.
Youth Christmas party. It's Wednesday, December 18th from 6 to 8.
All right, so we are going to have a youth Christmas party from it's on December 18th from 6 to 8. I think last year we had a contest of everyone dressing up, and there was a lot of you guys that really did well with dressing up, like ugly sweater, anything Christmassy. I think, Dart, you had a pretty cool outfit. You were like a fireplace with lights on it, so it was really, really cool. Yes, Carla. All right, so really ugly Christmas sweaters at Target if you want to go get one. Walmart usually has some pretty cool ones or full outfits. So yeah. All right. I think we have one more.
We need Mr. Chris Wade's help for this one. I'm pretty sure it's about Rock Haven.
Oh, okay. Chris, do you want to talk about Rock Haven real quick with the guys? Come on up. I think I don't know if you knew more about this or, the Nerf Wars. So,
All right, so this Friday is...
wait a minute.
No.
Oh, no.
No,
Wait.
no.
So, today is... Where are you going? Right here. Is Mr. Chris Wade's birthday. So... we need to sing Happy Birthday. Jamin, let's lead it.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mr. Chris Wade. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
Thanks, guys.
All right.
You can talk about North Florida.
And I think there was some other birthdays. Yes, Mia has a birthday tomorrow. Another birthday.
Yeah.
All right. Woo! Birthday tomorrow.
See, you should have came up.
We should have sang happy birthday to everybody. All right, well, happy birthday to everybody. We sang it. It's for everybody.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you, Jamin. Everyone give it up for Jamin. Thank you.
One more thing before we get into praise and worship. I need to let Chris Wade know he does not have to go to the principal's office tomorrow. That was a prank. We got Chris, for y'all that didn't know, most of you don't, of course, and you can thank Brenda for this. This is what I have to live with. She set someone up in the church that Chris would not recognize their voice to call him a while ago, right about the time we started service, and tell him of all people that Austin Peavy was in trouble at school, and he had listed Chris for his guardian, and Chris had to come with him to school tomorrow. And Chris believed it a whore. So happy birthday.
Good job. That was good. Hey, because I know Coach Wilson, and that actually sounded like him.
Coach Wilson, he's not a coach.
Mr. Wilson.
Coach. Yeah, he was a baseball coach. Come on, state champ. What's Coach Wilson coach?
He made an appointment and everything, Austin. He was ready to go take care of you. All right, gang. Hey, heads up. We're going to start praise and worship. Now, I asked specifically, Chris and I talked about the songs, and I wanted to get up and just speak to you a minute because, guys, I've been trying, and I want to keep working at it to get it across to you how important praise and worship is. Because God said he resides in our praises. It sets us up in the right frame of mind to worship and to grow in our walk with Christ. So I want everybody to get to their feet. No devices out, everything away. You guys know the drill. You're focused on this. Stand up. We're going to do some songs here, then we'll get in the message, okay?
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Yes, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
All right. You know, it is possible to be a child of God, and it's possible to know Him and still not be walking in His will. How many of you remember that a couple weeks ago or so? I'm trying to remember now because I missed a week, and y'all, it's probably been 3 weeks now, hasn't it? I started a new series called Hey Siri, and referencing how that we, most of us have Siri or Google Assistant on our phones, right? And most of us ask them all kinds of silly questions, right? And we generally expect the answers to be correct, right? We generally think it's going to be right. But isn't it funny how we can pick up a phone and talk to it like it's a person, and that seems normal, but to look up and talk to God and ask Him a question, that seems kind of weird. Seems kind of different. So I want to continue that series tonight, part 2 of Hey Siri. For those that are taking notes, there's going to be several things to take notes on tonight. I want to give you a verse first. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. So that said, in all your ways, everything you do, submit it to God, so that you're walking in His will. How many of you want God to be involved in decisions in your life? How many of you want God to have an influence in decisions in your life? Show of hands real quick. Most of you, all of you. That's wise. That's good. You know, we go through decisions every day, don't we? How about this one we've all done? Hey, where are we going to eat? How about later on it's, well, where am I going to go to college at? What am I going to major in? Am I going to marry this person? And if we get married, should we have kids? And if we have kids, should we send them to military school? So we need God on decisions we make every day in life. And to have that, and to have His influence in our life, we need to be walking in His will. So we'll get into that more. Psalms 139:16 says, all of the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. What he's saying there is, before you were born, God had a plan for your life. How many of you knew that? Show of hands. How many of you knew? Before you were born, God had a plan. A few of you, some of you, okay. Well, he did. For those that didn't know, he did. Right there's the scripture. Let me ask you, are you living in his plan that he designed for you today? Are you walking in that plan? Are you fulfilling the plan he had for you? James 4, verses 13 through 15 says, now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we'll go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money. Why? You do not know what will happen even tomorrow. What is your life? You're a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. So what he's telling us there is, most of you have been in church, you've heard that scripture at some time. This life we have, we're on here for average, 80 years roughly, give or take a few. And in the grand scheme of eternity, that's a very short time. A mist is what he's saying. Now, some people would take this and say, well, if that's the case, why should I worry about making a plan? Because this is not against planning. It's against planning without the will of God in your life. Because that makes all the difference. We're supposed to walk by faith and not by sight. More often than not, though, we walk by feelings, not faith. If it feels good, we do it, don't we? If it feels like something feels right, oh, okay, that's cool, that's good. If it's something we're not sure about, we're kind of leery off and we kind of back off of it, right? Because we're walking by feelings, not by faith. We avoid it if it doesn't feel right. If we get a good feeling, we go for it. Well, a good decision, is it always a God decision? Can a good decision be a God, can a good decision not be a God decision? I would say yes. Pardon me. Let me get louder here. So, yes, a good decision cannot be a God decision. An example, for instance, I had a guy just recently contact me about a job. And I thought, well, I'm really not looking for a job, but I went and met with him one morning. And I said, I'm with him. And we look over it, and he's like, okay, so what'd you make last year? And I said, well, roughly this. And he said, that's it? And I was like, yeah. Well, I thought I did okay. And he's like, well, we can do better than that. And so forth and so on. But then he tells me, I said, well, what's it, I know kind of how I work now and what my schedule has to be, so what's it like there? And he said, well, we work on, Sunday through Saturday, Sunday through Friday evening, if you will. I said, well, Sundays would be a problem because of other things I do. So even though it would be good on paper for me financially and some other things, it was not a good decision God-wise for what I've got going on in my life right now. Now, a lot of us, when we make decisions, how do we filter our decisions? How do we do that? What are some ways you guys filter your decisions? Excuse me there. I'm going to say a lot of us, I know when I was young, we would use the if this, then that scenario. Anybody ever been playing basketball and you drop back to shoot a hoop and you're like, all right, if I make this shot, she'll go out with me this weekend. Nobody ever done it by me? No? Okay. Then it's like you shoot in brick and you're like, okay, let me do it again. I'll get over here and I'll try it again. And if I make this shot, this will happen, right? The if this, then that scenario. If they call me back, I'll take that job. Hey, if she sends me a text message, that means she must want to go out with me, right? I mean, it's that kind of thing, right? If this, then that. So, how about this one? How many of you, this may be old school, maybe it's just the old folks who've done this. How about this? How about I really don't want to study my Bible. I really don't want to read the Word. So God, I'm just going to open it up, and I'm trusting you. I'm going to point, and boom, whatever that scripture says, that must be your will for me, right? And you look, and it says something like, go and do likewise. So what did that mean? Nothing. Because it's not the way it's supposed to be, right? That's not the way things work. There's a better way.
What if God had an app, kind of like Siri? If God had an app to answer all your questions, how many of you would download that app? Everybody? What if I told you you've already got the app? What if I told you that this right here, this is the app? And what if I told you that I bet all of you in here have got cell phones, and there's this thing called YouVersion that like 300 million people or something have downloaded, the YouVersion app, where you got the Bible in every language and understanding that there is. So you do actually have it. That's what it takes, guys. You have that app. I want to talk to you about how to find the will of God. How many of you ever wondered about what's the will of God in my life? What's it supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? Anybody ever thought that? I've got a few nods. A few people say, okay, thank you. So some of you have. Well, you know there's 3 different wills of God talked about in the Bible. Did you know that? You're going to write these down if you're taking notes. There's the sovereign will of God. There's the sovereign will of God, like a sovereign nation. The sovereign will of God. There's the moral will of God. And there's the personal will of God. We're going to talk about all 3 of those tonight, folks. Now, here's the thing. We usually don't want to talk about the sovereign will and the moral will. Those don't make us feel good. They don't give us that fuzzy, warm feeling when we talk about them. And we'll explain why in a little bit. But let me talk to you about how God's will works. Chris, put up that golf course picture. Who's golfed? I've putt-putted, okay? Never really golfed, but I've putt-putted. But I always thought, I want y'all to get this picture now. I've always thought golf courses were beautiful, how they manicure them, how they build them. I mean, they do it on purpose, of course. Brenda and I stayed at the Broadmoor a year ago at a trip I won with my company. And it's a USPGA golf course. It's fancy, okay? It's 5-star and then some. And our cottage we stayed in was right outside of the golf course. There was a bridge running across the creek right there in front of us, and there was one of the tee boxes just outside of our cottage. And it woke up one morning, and there was dew on. There was some deer out in the sand trap, and it was something to see in Colorado Springs. So been there, seen some pretty courses. But take a look at this a minute. You see, God's will is kind of like a golf course. So you golfers may can relate to this a little bit. You see, the fairway, if you're a golfer, again, I've not golfed, but I know how this kind of works. The fairway is kind of where all the magic happens, right? If you hit the ball and land in the fairway, and you hit it again from the fairway, and you stay in the fairway, you're on track to the goal, right? You're headed to the prize, the trophy, the end, right? Now, however, you see off to the sides are the trees, and I think the trees are pretty. I like the trees. I like going in the woods, okay? Trees. Then there's the sand traps. There's the water hazards. But the trees, for instance, the rough off to the side, the grass is taller and rougher, right? Harder to find your ball and hit your ball. You see, God's will is kind of like that. The trees, they may look inviting. On a sunny day, the tree gives you a shade. It's a place you can relax. You can sit back and be peaceful. But you get off in the trees playing golf, what happens? It's pretty tough to get out, right? Hit another tree, hit your golf club on a tree, all kinds of things, right? It's a problem to get out. It's doable, but it's hard, right? Same thing with a sand trap. Get off in the sand trap, sand feels good on your bare feet, right? Everybody likes, oh, the sand feels nice, that's nice. But to get out of it with your golf club is a little tougher. May take an extra stroke. Get off in the rough too far, cost you a stroke, right? It penalizes you, sets you back in life a little bit. Kind of like getting out of God's will does. The water hazard, same thing. Hard to recover, you could, but it's hard to recover from it, right? Cost you a stroke, sets you back some in life. You may have friends camped out in the trees. They're having a good time. And you're thinking, I'll go with my friends a while. You get off course, and all of a sudden, you've lost focus of where the flag is, where the trophy is, where the end is, and you're missing out. And you have to figure out a way to get out of the trees and get back to the course. It's kind of what happens in life, isn't it? We rear back, We see a goal, we want to go for it, we hit it, we strike up to hit for it, and maybe things, the wind catches, we get a little off course. And we get in a spot where it's hard to recover. It's hard to get out of it. When things don't go our way sometimes, how often do we hear people, maybe you've heard family members, parents, adults say, you know, been going to that church, and it's just not working anymore. Things are just not going like I want them to. Just, I don't feel it anymore. I'll find a new place. Kind of get in the woods, man, if I had new golf clubs, it's always something else. It's not our fault, right? It's always something else. It's always somebody else's fault. If they hadn't distracted me, I wouldn't have hit it over here. If it hadn't been the wind blowing, this wouldn't have happened. It's always something, right? Kind of that way in life. It's like, things are not going quite like I would like for them to go. If they wouldn't distract me, if the preacher would preach a different message, if the choir would sing a different song, if they played some different music, I'd be good. It's always somebody else's fault, right? Well, to get back into the will of God, you got to understand those wills. I told you we don't like to talk about the sovereign will. It's the first one we'll talk about. Now, the sovereign will of God, what that is these are things that God has established that He's going to do. Nothing you or I can do about it. We can't pray and change it. We can't say, oh, God, please, God, I know you're going to judge everybody, but God, if you just won't judge me, I'll be good. I'll pray. It doesn't matter. Certain things He's going to do. He's going to judge everybody and decide if you go to heaven or hell at some point. It's one thing He's going to do. Everybody's going to die. He said, everybody's going to die. Nobody's going to live until they die and then go to heaven or hell. So everybody, certain things God has determined will happen no matter what. That's His sovereign will. That's what you're looking at there. Now, the cool thing about that is to accomplish His sovereign will, God uses people. And that means He can use you. Think about it. When Mary had Jesus, He had to have Jesus come, so He took Mary, and here's Jesus. He wanted to kill a giant. He took David and killed a giant. He wanted to lead the people out of Egypt, and He has Moses. He uses people to accomplish His sovereign will. Certain things He wants done, but He uses people to do it. Are you going to be that person? Some of you may think, hey, I got invited here tonight. Lots of new faces were mentioned. It's awesome. It was good to see new faces. I'm glad you guys came. And ladies, and several of you that I recognize that are new. Thank you for coming. You may think, hey, I got invited here tonight, and I'm just here because. But you see, I believe that with God's sovereign will, you're here for a reason. Everybody's here for a reason. There is no chance with God. He had it all planned out. I already told you earlier, He knew about you and what was going to happen with you before you were ever born. He had this planned out. Thank you. Now let's talk about the moral will of God. Moral, right? Y'all know what moral is. The moral will of God is pretty much, thou shalt not. Pretty much what it is. Are you seeking and praying for the moral will of God in your life? You know, those things that there's right and there's wrong, and we know which one God wants, right? He wants the right. People pray for crazy things. I've heard people pray for some crazy things. I heard this example one time. A woman says, oh God, I know He's the one to be my husband. And God's like, no, He's someone else's husband already. He's not supposed to be yours. People pray for crazy things. So, if we're not careful, what we do a lot of times is we pray for the moral, or the personal will of God, while we're not in the moral will. We don't have the moral part going on, and we want that personal part. We want the part about us, right? See, some of us over here, we're in the sand trap. Or we're in the rough. We're out in the trees. And we're praying, hey, God, would you help me with this job situation? Would you help me with this test at school? Would you help me with this relationship thing? I really need your help. And then God, He says, well, I really want to give you the answer, and I really want to help you. But first, I need you to get out of those woods, get back out here in my light, get back here on the fairway, get back in my will. And then let's talk. Because, see, when you're out there, you're so distracted with your friends and your stuff, these things in life that are messing you up, that you can't hear me. Get back up here on this fairway where you can hear me and hear what I got for you. I got a pop quiz for you. How about that? 2 questions. First one's this. We're talking about you being in God's will. What am I doing right now? You should write this one down too. You're going to want this later. What am I doing that I should not be doing? What am I doing that I should not be doing? It's pretty simple, isn't it? Hey, parents will recognize this. Some of you guys will too. Have you ever done something? And I'm going to use Hayden because I like to pick on Hayden. And Hayden kind of fits this. Stand up, Hayden. Stand up. You come up and say, Hayden, why did you do that? What were you thinking? I don't know, right? I don't know. What were you thinking, Hayden? I wasn't, right? How many parents have ever said it to the kids? What were you thinking? All of them got their hands up in case y'all didn't notice that. What were you thinking? Why would you do that? I don't know. Well, you see, we do dumb things in life sometimes. We do silly things that after the fact don't make much sense, do they? When you get caught doing it, you're like, why did I do that? What was I thinking? I mean, it happens, right? It happens to adults too, so you know, it happens to all of us, not just you guys. So just think of it like this. I'll prove it to you. Think of it like this. If I had a box up here with a big red button on it, now I said, hey, don't touch this button now. And Bailey got it. She's already got it. She said, but I won't touch it. I'm sorry. Look, don't touch. I can't tell you all about it, but don't touch the button. As soon as I walked away, somebody are going to come touch the button, right? It don't matter. Somebody's going to come do it because that's what you want to do. We want to do things. So let me ask you this. What are you doing right now that you know is not right? That's not in God's will? What are you doing that's hurting you and not letting God bless you? You may want to write down your own answer there. Think about that. What are you doing that's not got you in God's will? You know, we're saying, God, find me in the rough. Lead me back onto the course. Get me back on that fairway, God. That's where I need to be. I want you to know tonight, because I think this has been misconstrued a lot over the years. He's not some big bad God waiting to kill you. He loves you. He wants to correct you and love you. He doesn't want to hurt you. He doesn't want you to go to hell. He wants to save you, and he wants you back in his moral will and his sovereign will. And then he will give you that personal will. Question number 2 of the pop quiz. What am I not doing that I should be doing? You got a second to write that down. What am I not doing that I should be doing? If God's will is sovereign, ain't going to happen no matter what, and he's doing amazing things, why shouldn't I want to be part of that? Why would I not want to be part of that? Because it's going to happen whether you like it or not. Why would you not want to be part of it and join in? That's my question. Why would you not? Why would you not want to be part of his sovereign will, his moral will? There's 4 things in life with the sovereign will that I want you to understand. This is what I believe the sovereign will of God is for your life. These 4 things, if you want to write these down. Number 1, you got to know God. I don't mean know about him. You got to know him. Number two, find freedom. You got to be free. Number three, you discover your purpose. We're going to talk about all these, by the way. Number four, you're going to make a difference on this planet because of those first three. It's most important to know God, first of all. That's number one, as I told you, to know God. Don't just meet him, but know him. You got to know God in order to find freedom. How many of you know a Christian, they're that guy that they've not found freedom because on the way to church on Highway 65, they got mad in traffic and give somebody the bird. And then they come into church and they're like, love you, brother. Bless you, man. Hallelujah. Good to see you today. Bless you. And outside on the road, they're like, get out of my way, I'm going to church. Right? We've all seen them, right? They have not found their freedom yet. They're holding on to things God wants them to let go of. Once you know God and you find your freedom, you can get away from that stuff and live not only a saved life, but a free life. After you do those things, you're going to find your purpose. Who wants to find their purpose? Who wants to know what their purpose is? I think we all should. How about this? Did you know God did not just save you to send you to heaven? Do you know that? If he saved you just to send you to heaven, why didn't he just kill you after he saved you? Really? I mean, why not? If he saved you just so you go to heaven, he should save you and kill you and take you, right? Because then you can't commit any more sin. You're good. That's not it. He didn't have you get saved so you come warm up a seat at church, take up space. He did it for you to go out and find your purpose, to do something for him. That's why he did it. Now, once you find your purpose, and your purpose, get this, Hayden's purpose, Mason's purpose, Braden's purpose. You guys don't know your name, sorry. I know Cade. Your purpose is not the same as my purpose, most likely. Could be. Maybe it is. But chances are, he's got something unique for each of you. He's got a different purpose for each of you. Something for you to do. Something for you to accomplish in life. Someone for you to reach. Okay.
I feel like it's really easy for a lot of us to get in that mindset of like trying to find a relationship with God so we can go to heaven. So how do you like recommend us getting out of that kind of mindset?
Well, I think that's a balancing act in that we always have to have that desire. You want to have that desire to go to heaven. That's that motivating factor that keeps you focused, keeps you on that fairway. Because heaven is the flag at the end. It's where you're putting the ball. Heaven is the goal. It's the end. So I think you've got to have that. And the more I think you grow in your relationship and come to know Christ as we really, he's not that big bad guy wanting to send you to hell. He does love you. He has a purpose and a plan for you. I think once you have those things and really start, and it took me years to get to this point. Believe me, it did not come overnight. It's been a process. It's been a time. And I still ain't nowhere where I need to be, honestly, okay? I still got a ways to go. But I think that once you get that going and you get that figured out, what really matters, that it becomes easier. I think it does. I hope that helps. So God does, once you find your purpose, he intends for you to go out and make a difference. He intends for you to make a difference. How do we make a difference? Well, all kinds of ways. You may work in some foreign country as a missionary. You may work here in some way at your own church. There's all kinds of ways we can make a difference, right? What I really want to talk to you about now is I'm going to give you 6 questions. 6 questions to help you find the will of God in your life. Are you living in the rough or the fairway right now? Where are you guys living? You don't have to tell me. Just I want you to think about that as we go these questions, okay? Where are you living in life? 6 questions. I'm going to start here now. Question number 1. Am I in a right relationship with God? Are you? Don't answer me. Answer yourself. Am I in a right relationship with God? Am I doing it God's way or the world's way? What am I doing? Romans 12:2. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Let God in on the decisions is what that's saying, okay? Let God in. Let Him help you with those decisions. And let's see, I lost my place here. I was reading mine. Learn from God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Question number 2. What does the Bible say? What does the Bible say? Isn't it funny? Most people today say, man, I don't read the Bible. I can't understand it. Thou holy Father in heaven, thou this and then and henceforth and though it's people, guys. I've already told you, all of you got a phone. Most of you have YouVersion. Isn't it strange that we have the easiest translations ever in history today to read? Common everyday language, the NASB version, the ESV version, the Amplified version, where they basically give you the scriptures just like me and you talking. So there's no excuse there. No excuse, okay? The Word is supposed to be a light unto your feet. Now, think about that a second. I want to ask you this question. The Word is supposed to be a light unto your feet, to light your path through life, right? How many of you in here, I don't want you to take them out, but how many of you in here have a flashlight right now? Show of hands. If you've got a phone, you've probably got a flashlight, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've got a flashlight, right? All right, I want you to think about something here. Let's go back to when most of you were in diapers or barely out of diapers, say 12 or 14 years ago. If I asked that question to this group 12 or 14 years ago, y'all thought I was crazy. If I said, who's got a flashlight tonight? You'd been like, what? What are you talking about? Why would I have a flashlight? For those of you that don't know, because you've grown up with it, flashlights in phones is a fairly new thing. Of course, phones are fairly new still, but flashlights in phones are real new. They did not exist 12 years ago. So the only way 12 years ago to have a flashlight would be if you had one in your pocket and were carrying a flashlight with you. Now, is it a little ironic, though, that your flashlight is on your phone and it's always with you? And you use it all the time, don't you? I mean, there was time when we had to go looking for a flashlight if we needed a flashlight, and the only time we ever really used a flashlight is the power went out. It's a storm. Hey, where's the flashlight at? We can't see. Got to get a flashlight. Nowadays, it's like, hey, honey, I need something out of your purse. And if it's Brenda's purse, you're going to use a flashlight to find it in her purse. So we've all got a flashlight. And we use it all the time. But isn't it funny that we have the Word of God in YouVersion on our phones, right there in the same pocket as our flashlight? Do we use it anywhere close to as often as we use our flashlight? Anybody ever even thought about that? The Word's supposed to be a light unto your feet. I got a challenge for you. How about this? What if you thought for the next week, every time you take your phone out to use your flashlight, you stop right then, or, I mean, YouVersion's got a daily verse, right? One verse. And you skip over and read that one verse every time you use your flashlight. Would you have that verse memorized pretty quick? I would challenge you, before you go all digital, go scriptural. Do you really need that flashlight all the time? You do need the Word all the time. Question number 3. Y'all like this one. Everybody knows this one. What would Jesus do? WWJD. He was pure. He was peace-loving. He was considerate, right? Jesus never badmouthed anybody. He only spoke the truth. It's pretty simple on that one. Question number 4. Have I sought godly counsel? Have you got someone in your life that you can talk to? I need to ask you somebody again here. Have you got somebody in your life that if you've got a question, you can talk to them and they'll be honest with you? Because they care about you and not your friendship? Oh, it makes them stand. Come here. How many of you heard this? Bro, hey bro, I could have told you she was crazy. And you would say, well, why didn't you, man? Why didn't you? Bro, because I care about our friendship. I didn't want to lose you as a friend. I figured you'd work it out. Right? We've all heard that, right? Bro, I could have told you, but because you're my friend, I didn't tell you. True? Is that fair to say? Proverbs 11:14 says, where no counsel is, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. You need to find a friend in your life who'll be honest with you. You need to find a friend in your life that won't sugarcoat it and say, it's okay. Yeah, you're good. Because you're not always good, right? You need to find a friend who'll be honest with you. Question number 5. Do I sense God's peace? How many of you ever made a decision, decided you were going to do something, and then after you did, you're like, man, I just don't feel right about this. In sales, they call it buyer's remorse. You buy something and you're like, I wish I hadn't bought that. You think I could take it back? I really wish I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't jumped on that. Right? How many of you ever done that? Show of hands. Who's ever made a decision and decided and wished they hadn't afterwards? Okay? Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. You hear that? To prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. There's a literal Hebrew translation of that verse that says, I will give you peace. You need to find peace in your decisions. Anytime the Holy Spirit is messing with you and you're thinking, I don't know about doing this, you need to second guess it. You need to think about it. A good decision doesn't always mean a God decision, right? I already told you that. I've seen people literally take a job because it was a big career jump for them. And then, once they get going, they have to move to a bigger house, get fancier cars. Next thing you know, they're divorcing. And everything falls apart. All because of a career that was going to make everything better. I've seen it happen. A good decision is not always a God decision. Any decision we're going to make, especially a big one, you should be willing to sit down and take 30 seconds and say, hey, God, what do you think about this? Give me a sign. Give me a sign. And finally, the last one, and this one is the biggest one of all. Is it my will or is it God's will? Think about that one a second. You write it down. Is it my will or is it God's will? I think we often try to wrap our will and take God's will and kind of wrap around it to make us feel good, like a blanket. We say, this is my will. And God, since I want this, I really want to go out with her, or she wants to go out with him, or I really want this new car, I really want to do this, I really want to go here. And God, that'd be good, right? I mean, I don't see nothing bad. That'd be good. And we kind of wrap God, yeah, I think that'd be good. And we do it. One of the problems, and you guys can relate to this a second here, is we always try to pray about us, me. Why do you think in the past several weeks and months, I have had you guys several times, I've told you, hey, when you stand up and pray, we're going to all pray. You remember me telling you this, right? We're going to pray, and when you pray, don't you pray anything for yourself. You pray for the person next to you, the person in front of you, and the person behind you. Because that's when you start getting somewhere. When you quit praying about me, oh God, I really need this. Oh God, I really need that. And you start concerning yourself with everything around you, you realize God's got you. He's got it. He already knows your needs. You really don't even have to ask. He knows. Trying to train you in that. You see, his will is that all will be saved and none lost. Elvis Presley. Who knows Elvis? I think everybody knows Elvis, right? You could argue that Elvis was the most successful person ever in entertainment. You know, when he was alive, he died on my birthday, by the way, in 1977. So I remember it very well. My mom cried. So Elvis, when he was alive, there was about 300 Elvis impersonators around the world when he was alive. Do you know today there are several thousand impersonators? 45 years later, there's several thousand impersonators. It's estimated he has over 1 billion fans. Over 1 billion fans currently on earth, and he's been gone 45 years. They call him the king, say he was the king. Elvis, Lisa Maria's daughter, she gave an interview to Reader's Digest some time back. In that interview, she said, my dad never came to terms with his calling in life. She said he knew, and if you know Elvis and if you listen to much of his music, there is a lot of gospel music that he did. He grew up in church. His mom was a very religious woman. I've been to his house in Tupelo and seen it and all that and know quite a bit about his history. And Lisa Marie said that he knew he was called to either preach or teach or in some way serve the kingdom. He knew he was. And he couldn't deal with that because he found fame and fortune. So he went on the stage as much as he possibly could because it took his mind off when he saw his fans and everybody going crazy and everybody happy to see him. It took his mind off of his calling. But he always went back. If you watch him through the years before he passed, he would always go back and do these gospel albums and these Christian albums. And he was really good at it. He never met his calling. He was not walking in God's will. Yeah, he had fame and fortune. And he died at 42 years old of drugs and alcohol. And a heart attack, supposedly. I don't know, but whatever it was. Sad, sad case. A man who had everything, had anything he wanted. Anywhere he went, he was a hero. Everybody loved Elvis. And he was not walking in his will. So, think about that. It's a miserable life to live. And if you run across somebody that's miserable in life, and they're always down on everything, I consider that they're not walking in God's will. They don't know God's will in their life. A final story as I wrap up with you. Many years ago, there was a revival taking place at a little church. Now, this revival was taking place, and these two rough young boys, teenage type guys like you guys, they came up and wanted to go to the revival. Now, one of them, they were pretty rough. They've been in some things, okay? And one of them recently had been kicked out of the church and told not to come back. So they come to the church, and they walk up to the door, and they hear the revival going, and they say, well, again, the usher stops them at the door. We're full. Sorry. You can't come in. And they're like, but we just want to hear the preacher preach. Another usher walks up, says, hey, boys, tell you what, if you want to sit up here near the front, I think I can find a place to put 2 chairs and get you up at the front. And they're like, okay, that'll work. They go up to the front. He puts them in the chairs. Revival goes. That night, both of those young boys give their life to Jesus Christ and get saved. One of those boys' name is Grady Wilson. The other one's name is Billy Graham. Now, most people know who Billy Graham is. He went on in life to impact millions and millions and millions and millions of people. after he got saved that night. Because he got into God's will, and he stayed there. And he walked in God's will, and he lived in God's will. So I would ask you tonight, as I wrap up, could you be that usher who got a chair for them and got them up and let them in and let them experience Jesus Christ? Could you be that usher? Could you be Billy Graham? Could you be the one that gets saved and becomes Billy Graham, the next Billy Graham? Yeah. The answer is yes. Any of you could. So with that, I'm going to close. Now, what I'd like to do is all of you stand up and bow your heads. We all need to be walking in the will of God. That's his intention. For us to walk in his will, be in his will at all times. Are we always there? No. I've told you, you get off in the sand trap, you get off in the rough, it takes a bit to recover, but we figure out a way to recover, don't we? That's the way the game of life works. So tonight I want you to bow your heads, and I'm going to pray for you all to be in the will of God, first of all. And I want you to pray for the people around you, not for yourself, for the people around you, like I've asked you to dozens of times. In doing that, let me just go in and we'll start praying and we'll go from there, okay? Lord, Father, I just thank you that you brought everyone you brought here tonight for a purpose, to find their purpose, God, and to learn more about your will. Hopefully grow in our relationship to you. There are hungry hearts here tonight, God. There's hearts who need you, hearts who know you. God, you know who they are. I pray that you're dealing with them right now as we say this prayer. That you're touching people, touching their minds and their hearts. Now, what I would like to do, you keep your heads bowed, please. Now it's closed. If there are any of you in here tonight who you want to try to get back on track, not saying things wrong with you, not saying you're bad and it's not that at all. You would like someone to just simply pray with you and let them know that they're your counsel, that wise counsel I talked about. That they can be there for you to go to and speak to and say, I just need you to pray about this for me. I need you to just pray for me. Whatever it is you need. I'd like for you to start by stepping out of the aisle, stepping out into the aisle, either way. I've got leaders back to back all around. Anyone who'd like to. There's no shame here. The shame would be if you leave here tonight knowing you needed to and you did nothing. That's the shame. There's no shame in anybody saying, hey, I need a little help. I just need somebody that'll kind of know that they've got my back. Somebody who'll help watch out for me. If you need that, got people starting to move already, somebody, feel free to move. We're here for you. You already know there's no judgment in this room. I know some of you need it because I know how life is. Some of us need it. Don't be afraid. Take that step now. Step out. Anybody else? We need him. You're going to need him tomorrow. It's not easy out there. Anything you need prayer for. Anything. Just to know that somebody's got you. The door's open. Don't go away from here tonight thinking, well, I had a chance and I wish I had. Don't have buyer's remorse when you leave. Don't have that. Now's your chance. Make that move. Don't be afraid. Anybody else? Anybody else? got more moving than anybody else. There's no fear here tonight. Love for you guys. Jesus Christ loves you. It's His desire for you to draw closer. His desire for you to know Him better. To understand Him. He wants to bless you. Let Him do that tonight. Glad you all came tonight. Thank you for coming. Hope you come back next week. We'll have part 3. We're doing a series in church on Sunday mornings. This week talking about heaven. So there's some good things there. So there's still people praying and talking. Everybody keep a quiet profile if you want to slip out. I think church is out, but do be quiet. Okay, be respectful.